Hi, this is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. Our devotion for today, December 31st, 2021, is from the book of James, chapter 5, verses 7 through 11. Verse 7 and 8. Be patient, therefore, brothers, until the coming of the Lord. See how the farmer waits for the precious fruit of the earth, being patient about it until it receives the early and the late rains. You also be patient. Establish your hearts, for the coming of the Lord is at hand. In our devotion for today, the Apostle James implores us to be patient in suffering, and he uses the example of how patient a farmer must be as he waits for his crops to grow from the planting until harvest. Sadly, I think our modern, less agrarian society doesn't understand this example of patience, as did generations before. How might we describe what it means to wait for that same length of time with that same feeling of helplessness, depending solely on God, as plowing and planting and growing and then harvesting of crops is for a farmer? Whatever the example, patience must be required. We who wait upon the Lord must be patient, good times or bad, but especially during the bad times. God is still in charge, still the King of the universe, and is aware of your suffering. He will act according to his pleasure and according to what you need most. So wait, be patient, trust him. Verses 9 and 10. Do not grumble against one another, brothers, so that you may not be judged. Behold, the judge is standing at the door. As an example of suffering and patience, brothers, take the prophets who spoke in the name of the Lord. So James also tells us not to grumble against one another because we don't want to say anything, that we'll regret, anything that will cause us to be judged negatively by the Lord, who is, by the way, standing at the door, ready to come, ready to judge the living and the dead. Instead, James tells us to look to the prophets as role models of how to respond to suffering with patience. Verse 11, behold, we consider those blessed who remained steadfast. You have heard of the steadfastness of Job, and you have seen the purpose of the Lord, how the Lord is compassionate and merciful. So then James tells us to consider those who remained steadfast, the prophets who remained steadfast in their faith, even while suffering, that they were blessed. We look at them and say they're blessed. They're prophets of God. He still tells us to look to Job and how he responded to his suffering. And we see, James reminds us, we've seen the purpose of the Lord revealed in the suffering and death of Jesus in order to save the entire world. So let us be steadfast in our faith. The Lord is filled with compassion and mercy for all of those who suffer. Therefore, he's filled with compassion and mercy for us. And he's able to turn our suffering into a blessing for ourselves and a blessing for others. Go in peace, serve the Lord.